Welcome to the third installment of your informational onboarding experience.
Hello everyone. In today's episode, I'm going to show you all the out-of-bounds areas in Backrooms Escape together. Even though the game is still in early access and probably doesn't have any major secrets yet, I still think it's cool to explore areas that players normally can't access. Since this version of the game doesn't support useful console commands like toggle debug camera or fly, we'll be using a third-party tool that allows us to control the in-game camera freely. If you enjoy what we do, consider subscribing and give this video a like for more content like this. With that said, let's jump in. We'll start with the first level of the game, level 0. Let's go. The first level, known as the lobby, contains 2 entities and 1 sublevel. We'll begin by fully exploring level 0, checking out the entire map and experimenting with the entities. After that, we'll head into the sublevel, level 0.11. The tool we're using also lets us do a lot more than just move the camera. We can add custom lights, clone entities, make certain objects invisible, take a closer look at in-game items, and much more. If you're interested in getting access to the tool, make sure to join our Discord server to learn more about it. The first thing I did was add lighting to the entire map, just so I could identify the entity and other objects more easily. Here's a closer look at the chair without the darkness. Now we're in the pitfalls area. Let's take a closer look at the litter and in-game items. They're surprisingly detailed. At this point, the blackout event occurred, and the smilers spawned in. Using the tool, we're able to get a much closer look at them as well. Now let's take a look at the main attraction of this level, bacteria. Here, I've cloned a few of them and even resized one for fun. I can do the same thing with the player model as well. One limitation of the tool, though, is that once I exit the camera mode, everything I changed, like cloning or resizing objects, resets back to normal. Let's take a look at how the elevator breaks using the free camera. Cool effects, not gonna lie, now we're in level 0.11, also known as water damage. This level features only one entity, the Smiler, which we've already seen earlier. The map for this level appears to be fairly small. Once again, we'll take a closer look at all the objects before moving on. Just like before, the level's visual quality is impressive. Level 1, known as Habitable Zone, is the second level in the game. While it doesn't have as many details as Level 0, it's still pretty cool to explore. This level features only one enemy type, the Skin Stealer, and up to 3 of them can spawn at a time. Just like before, I explored the entire map, and it turns out the level is actually quite large. Now let's take a look at the Skin Stealers. Using the tool, we can pause the entities and examine them up close. Interestingly, they don't even have eyes. And they seem to be floating. I did the same thing with bacteria, messed around with one of them just for fun. After I was done, one of the Skin Stealers actually walked into a storage room. Even though the room was brightly lit, it didn't seem scared at all. Sadly, I tried to free him. But it didn't work. He'll never see his friends again. I also tried playing the level with the entire map fully lit, and yeah, it looked pretty goofy, not gonna lie. I also messed around with the generators and ended up cloning a bunch of them. Imagine if the tool didn't reset everything, it'd basically be a cheat code. I took a closer look at the items inside the storage rooms as well, some nice little details in there. As for the exit, while it looks normal from the player's perspective, taking the camera outside reveals an empty room. Honestly, I have no idea what that might be for. Maybe a placeholder or an unused area. Now let's move on and explore the next level, level 3. Now it's time for level 3, known as electrical station. This level features only one entity type, the clump, which can spawn in any of the 3 sectors. This is actually my favorite level in the game, and I was surprised when I took the camera out of bounds and lit up the entire map. As most of you probably know, this level is divided into 3 colored sectors, yellow, green, and blue. Here's how big the yellow sector is. Now the green. And finally the blue. Pretty interesting, right? I also checked out the machine rooms at the end of each sector and found some other interesting objects along the way. Here's a closer look at the clump entity. It's insanely detailed and honestly pretty terrifying up close. One weird thing I noticed, even though the power in this sector is off, we can still interact with the jail doors by using a fuse. I also made a chunk of level 3 invisible, which gave the area a really unique look. The reason the other objects didn't disappear is because, as you can see, they're separate types of assets. Now let's take a look at the end of this level, without the darkness, of course. If we move the camera behind the exit door, there's actually nothing there, and that's pretty much it for level 3, now let's move on to level 2. Level 2, known as Pipe Dreams, is actually the third level in the game. Yeah, don't ask me why level 2 comes after level 3, I've got no idea either. Like before, I lit up the whole map. This time, the level is a bit smaller, but I did run into its only entity, the Scratcher. Let's pause it and take a closer look. It's very detailed and pretty creepy up close. With the tool, I can also interact with some objects, though sadly, it doesn't let me interact with items. In this case, the Scratcher was alerted by the sound of the valve turning, a nice touch. Here's what the exit looks like at the end of the level. What's odd is that once you enter the elevator, it doesn't actually move, after a few seconds. You're simply teleported to the next level. I also took a closer look at some of the smaller objects throughout the level. Even though Pipe Dreams is smaller and not quite as scary as the previous levels, it's still very detailed and has a cool atmosphere. Now let's check out level 4. Level 4, known as Abandoned Office, is the fourth level in the game. This level has no entities, and the good news is that it's already lit by default, which makes exploring out-of-bounds areas much easier, since it's set during the daytime. I did the same thing I did with level 3, I turned the level 4 chunk invisible. That made it easier to take a closer look at everything around it. Here's the exit of level 4, featuring the keypad. Once again, everything is super detailed. I even used the tool to bypass the keypad and exit the level. Definitely feels like a cheat code for speedrunning level 4. We've explored everything here, so you'd think we'd move on to level 6, but that's not really the case. Level 6 is known for its complete darkness, and because of that, we're forced to rely on a tool called LiDAR to navigate. Unfortunately, the free camera doesn't support the LiDAR tool, which makes out-of-bounds exploration basically useless here. However, there is a video out there that shows what level 6 looks like without the darkness. I'll leave a link to it in the description below if you're curious. With that said, let's move on to level 37. Level 37, known as Sublimity, is the 6th level in the game. It's the smallest and easiest level so far. No entities, no danger. Unless you accidentally fall off the staircase, which leads to instant death. This level is pretty simple and doesn't have a lot of detail. If we take a look outside the map, you can see just how small it really is. I did the same trick I used in level 4, made the map invisible so we could get a clearer view of the level's layout. Looking behind the exit door, there's nothing but a red light, likely representing the transition to the next level, and that's pretty much it. A very simple level with not much going on. Hopefully it gets reworked or expanded in the future. Now, let's continue with level run. Level Run, also known as Run for Your Life, is the 7th level in the game. Realistically, no one can really explore this area during normal gameplay because of the Scratcher entity, which, for some reason, is no longer blind here, but with the help of the tool, we can freely explore the level and light it up like always. The Scratcher looks the same as before, nothing new visually. Now let's take a look at the morgue sections and the objects inside. Just like in level 3, the first morgue section is pretty straightforward, but the final one is much larger, making it harder to find the blue keycard needed to escape. Normally, this level ends with Level Fun acting as the outro to Run for Your Life and the intro to Level Fun. However, there's actually more going on. The devs included part of Level Fun within this map. Even though players can't normally explore it, it's visible through the tool. We can even see the exit locator and a few coins placed on a table. Unfortunately, I can't teleport using the tool to test whether the locator actually leads to the bouncy castle or not, so, who knows. Anyway, let's continue with Level Fun. Level Fun, known simply as Fun, is the 8th level in the game, and probably the biggest one so far. That's because you're tasked with completing multiple areas to collect tickets and eventually escape. We start in the tutorial area, which explains how the locator works and how much each use costs. As always, I took the camera out of bounds and lit up the entire level, including the warehouses. But this raises a question: where are all these other areas actually located on the map? To answer that, I had to complete one of the warehouse sections first. Then, using the tool, I could figure out whether the next areas were above, below, or beside the current one, before going into the warehouse. I located the jumping puzzle areas using the camera. To make finding the exit easier, I also searched for the arrow that points to the warehouse's end, but before continuing, let's take a closer look at the entity in this level, the partygoer. Only one of them spawns in each of the 3 warehouses. Up close, you can see a lot of interesting details. Eventually, I found the exit of the warehouse, which leads into a new minigame: red light, green light. I'm sure most of you know how that works, but back to the main question: where are these areas located? Well, I lit up every single section of the level and now the entire level fun map is fully visible. Like I said earlier, it's the biggest level yet. I also discovered something interesting near the bouncy castle area. Underneath the glitched out platforms, there are a few random tables just sitting there. Now let's check out the exit of the level. Normally, players can't see where the red pipe actually leads, and honestly, they're lucky, because it drops straight into the void. Lastly, here are a few other objects I found inside the warehouse that looked pretty interesting. Now let's visit Level Hub, this level. Well, it doesn't really matter that much. It's basically the ending of the current game build, since more levels will likely be added after Level Fun. Sadly, the hub isn't as interesting as the other levels, except for what's waiting at the end of the path. If we take the camera to the end of the level, it doesn't matter whether you go left or right, the path eventually stops, and you'll find a door that's chained shut. To open that door, you need the rusty bolt cutters from level 3, and in order to actually open it, I need to bring the player character in. God damn it. Anyway, once the door is opened, it unlocks a secret level. This level is a glitch of the hub that has some pretty interesting objects. I actually even This is how the level looks when lit up, very, very glitched and strange. Here's a closer look at some of the other objects I found. Now, what happens when you leave this area? Well, beyond level fun, there's usually a locked door. But if you finish this glitched level, that door becomes accessible. No need to run to the end of level hub with the rusty bolt cutters from level 3, pretty cool shortcut, if you ask me. But before we end the video, let's take a quick look at the main menu. Yes, the main menu actually has a small area that can be explored with the camera. Even though it lacks detail, it's nothing too special, but still cool to see that it's a real 3D space. Very interesting. nonetheless. Wait, we forgot about the Hasman. Did you guys know this player model actually has a hidden Easter egg? If you make him jump and pause at just the right time, you can see a small text under his shoe. That says, Ethan was here. Now, who's Ethan? He's one of the developers of the game, working alongside Tisbury. Pretty cool detail, nonetheless. That's gonna be it for this Out of Bounds episode. If you enjoy what we're doing, be sure to subscribe and give the video a like for more content like this. We'll also drop a link to our Discord server in the description, where you can learn more about the tool and everything else related to it. Thanks for watching. See you all next time.